We'll quickly run through the few sentences we did last time and then proceed further. Beginning with the section, new section, 42nd section. A third creation now revealed its face. So until now what was seen were gigantic vital forms, life forms, gigantic life forms, starting from small to big one, dinosaurs, sloth, mastodon, all those huge things, and it was a life which had only what one might call a vital life. Vital life. Only the impulse of life, the instinct of life, it is that which was driving the entire creation at that point of time in the process of evolution, you see. Now, the third creation here is the early entry of mind into life. It is not mind proper yet, but it is life mind. What we have got here is a life mind. Mind itself has a mind, life itself has a mind, and it is that mind which is showing up in this particular section now, you see. Actually, this mind is a little complex business in the sense that this element of mind is present everywhere. Mind of night. That is how the Savitri begins in the very first page itself. The mind of night has a mind of its own. Now, you can generally take mind as something, as a faculty by which a certain kind of a formation takes place. Certain kind of a formation takes place, you see. See what is vague, what is diffuse, what is not collected and all that thing, a sort of a formation starts taking place. Mind is a measuring instrument. It kind of divides and breaks and then gives a certain form to things like. In that sense, mind is a measuring instrument basically. So the formation starts with the mind. So night has a mind. Same way, I will even say the void has a certain mind. The inconscience has a certain mind. The physical nature, matter, has a certain mind. Life has a certain mind. Then you have mind proper, mind. And then you go further up, you have got a spiritual mind. You go further up, you have got super mind. You see. Now, so the whole hierarchy of mind, all the way up to Satchidananda, goes from mind of night straight like that. See. So, mind is something which is to be understood as a device, so to say, as a mechanism, as something which brings a form into existence. It gives a kind of a shape to things, you see, definiteness, you see, that way. It measures, breaks and produces things. So, in other words, you take like this, what is spaceless, what is timeless, what is infinite, what is eternity. It is a kind of an unbroken continuity. Unbroken continuity. But now if you want to bring hours and minutes and seconds and things like that in time, you want to bring distinct locations and places like that in space, then it is a play of mind which comes to intuition. Mind starts operating. So the finiteness to the infinite gets introduced with the appearance of mind. With the appearance of mind, you see. So that way, the finiteness has to be there, the individuality has to express itself, so that individuality, expression, so mind in that sense is a creative. Although in our state, in our consciousness, at our level of evolution, mind is an analytical tool. It will break, dissect, cut like that, which means that it is really trying to understand bit by bit, smaller thing like that, continuously, you see. So here, now, we are entering into life mind in this particular section. So this whole description of this canto and the next canto also is a description of the evolution of consciousness from matter to life to mind. how the entire evolution has taken place over courses of years, millions and millions of years, how things have evolved. This is what we have got here in the descriptions here. And Shebendhu has written a long essay, The Theory of Evolution, in Record of Yoga, in Record of Evolution, how through the whole thing, and in the early stages of only life, how the vital forces were strong and dominating and powerful, Rakshasas, Pishachar, demons, titans, giants, all this, they were really there. They were really there because there was no mind control also at that point of time, you see. They were there, you see. So they were a fact of evolution and they had to disappear. See, in a certain sense, it was necessary also. If matter which is very rigid, which is very firm, which is unmoving, has to be stirred up, then you have to really push a lot of life force into it. And life played that role very beautifully in that sense to awaken, to stir up matter completely, you see. A third creation, yeah.
Yeah, ask a question. What is mind of night?
Mind of night.
What is it? In the hierarchy.
Yeah. See, night has a mind. See, I will say mind is a faculty at that place which receives, which is open, which is governed, which is dominated by the powers of inconscience. Powers of inconscience. Completely, you see. Mind of night. Mind of night, you see. And not only dominated, but also it fixes it, firms it, makes it firm. See, when mind enter into matter, when mind enter into inconscience, so to say, at that point, inconscience, before entry of mind into inconscience, mother says, was very pliable, very plastic, it could be molded, it could be shaped, like that thing. But with the entry of mind, at that stage into it, it made it rigid, very firm. So, as a result of that, because it has become very firm, very rigid, sticking to itself, to bring about a change is not an easy job. To bring about a change is not, because it is already fixed up itself now. So the mind has a power to resist change now. So it is, although on the one hand it is playing a certain positive role to give a firmness to things, that firmness is coming in the way of moldability, of taking it forward, you see. So mind of night is something which receives the powers of darkness. The physical mind which is receiving the powers of darkness, that is the mind of night. Now, the most significant thing which has happened in Shebendhu's yoga is the mind of light. In contrast to mind of night, you have the mind of light. Mind of light is, now this mind is open to the higher light, to the supramental light and force, and it can move with that light and force, mind of light. So, the entry of mind of light into evolution now is a very big leap in the progress of sadhana itself, you see, of the yoga itself. That now the physical mind, which was until now dominated by night, physical mind which was dominated by the night, is now opening itself to light, to supramental light and force. That is mind of light, you see. So, mind of night is something very firm. See, mind of night, as I said, gives a sort of firmness to what has been formed. Firmness to it. Otherwise, the hungry void would have swallowed up all that would have been created. You create something and the void will swallow up. To prevent the swallowing by the void, you need something by which it can be held. And in that sense, mind of night is helping the forms getting swallowed by the void. So it is playing a certain role. But because it is also rigid, it is not opening to higher possibilities of light. That opening comes gradually. Life comes into matter, stirs up, shakes it up, does something. Mind comes, shakes up, like that the spiritual mind comes. So that is how you build up the plasticity of the physical. And the physical starts opening more and more to the higher powers of light and force, you see, that we see. So that is the logic, that is the sequence by which things are going to happen, you see.
In the scale of evolution,
Huh?
in the scale of evolution, can we put the mind of night in the beginning to go through the mind of light? I mean, can we put it like this or not?
See, mind of light is directly a projection of supermind into this creation.
Yeah,
But physically, in terms of its location, it is in the physical. You follow? You see, in the hierarchy of placement, it is in the physical. But in the physical, it is directly in contact with the supramental light and force.
the mind of
Mind of light.
night,
Mind of light.
of light. Ah, yeah.
Mind of light.
Mind of night.
Now is down below. So it is in the matter, in the physical. It is the physical. It is the physical. So if you want to put geographically the location of mind of light, I will say it is in the physical, in the very cells of the body, but directly in contact with the supramental light and force.
In the sense.
Mind of light.
Mind of light.
Yeah. When it has opened out, when it is created, you see.
But others called cellular mind.
Huh?
Others said cellular mind.
Yeah, cellular mind, but cellular mind which is open to the powers, higher spiritual powers.
Physical.
Yeah, yeah.
Physically.
So that is a great leap which has taken place in the sadhana of the mother, you see. Mother's yoga itself is that, you see, working directly in the physical matter itself, you see, the higher power. A third creation now revealed its face. A mode of body's early mind was made. Body is mind. The physical's mind, matter's mind was made, you see, by life. By life, you see. A mode of body's early mind was made. A glint of light kindled the obscure world force. You see, this is creation of the early mind in the matter by life is a small little light, small glint is coming up here, you see. Body's early mind was made. A glint of light kindled the obscure world force. The world force which is a dark place, which was not yielding, which was not able to see anything further. Obscure. It was not able to see anything further. It is that now which has started seeing with the entry of this mind of light. Life mind in this picture, you see. A glint of light kindled the obscure world force. A driven world with the seeing idea, dowered, gifted. This driven world by the world force is driving, that driven world is driven by the world force, and a dowered means gifted. What? With the seeing idea, that it can see there. Now it is a seeing idea means what is the aim, what is the objective, what is the whole process for, etc. etc. It starts getting a kind of a little notion of it, little hint of it at this point of time, an idea, you see. Now this is a seeing idea, it is not yet a real idea. Real idea means what the supramental vision itself sees and looks for. It is not that thing. It is climbing up, and now what is going to happen tomorrow? That is what you see. You see. The animal creature, they don't have that long vision, but still they have some sort of a perspective of things like that. You see. A glint of light kindled the obscure world force. A dowered, as I told you last time, this line, a driven world with seeing idea. It's a very complex line metrically, and the only way by which I will scan it as a pentameter is a dowered amphibrach, a driven, another amphibrach, world with crocky, the seeing, another amphibrach, idea, another amphibrach, you see. If you want to see it as a pentametric line, otherwise it is a 6-footer line, having 6 feet, you see that. You see. A dowered, driven world with the seeing idea. And the beauty of this line, you see, the repetition of D, dowered, driven, world, idea. The D alliteration is kind of insistent. It is driving, it is pushing forward, taking it forward, you see. A dowered, a driven, world, idea. Now you see, Normally, in the traditional poetic aesthesis, the repetition of a word is taken as a very bad thing. If a word is repeated very quickly, then it is not taken very happily by people, you see. But here, word force, word with same idea. It is appearing next time that word appears twice immediately. But then still it has some kind of a different effect. This word here is absolutely necessary. Similarly, word force is also absolutely necessary. They are more just. They are the perfect words. They had to be there. More just. But then at the same time, it doesn't have that kind of a sense of repetition and nauseous. A devoured, a driven world with the same idea. What a line metrically, you see, how it flows beautiful, you see, with the de-alliteration, you see. And arm the act with thoughts, dynamic point. Yeah, now this life mind is coming, so it is arm the act, the action of life is now getting a kind of a dynamism with this mind, a certain kind of a direction also, that you have to move like this, you have to move like this, you have to move like this, you see. And arm the act with thoughts, dynamic point, a small thinking being, watch the works of time. So that is the kind of summary of this whole process, you see. A small thinking being, a little element, a mental, small manushya, man, being who can think, he has arrived on the scene in life world, you see. A small thinking being, watch the works of time, it is going to see for, because it is seeing the seeing idea. Therefore, it is watching the works of time. It may not perhaps be so much aware of the past, but now it has kind of an opening to see what is going to happen future to that system. And arm the act with thoughts, dynamic point, a small thinking being, watch the works of time. A difficult evolution from below. It is indeed a difficult evolution. It is indeed a difficult evolution, you see. That out of nothing something should come, matter should come. Out of matter, life, mind should come. Is a real long process. Because it is difficult, therefore it has taken eons, millennia, you see, to make progress. Because it is a difficult, very slow process. You see, to work out things, to bring life in matter, see the way by which the things must have been worked out by life herself, we don't know, very complex way. But she has managed a creature. She has managed to produce a fish, she has managed to produce a tortoise, she has managed to produce a boar, she has managed to produce birds, animals, prey, and so that is a great achievement of life in matter. It is not that matter has grown by itself, but she has used matter as the substance for the expression of life powers and life possibilities. Life has used matter as a substance to express her own powers and possibilities, you see. That is, it is not that matter has created the thing, it is rather life who has exploited matter and gave different shapes. A difficult evolution from below caught a mass intervention from above. Else, this great, blind, inconscient universe could never have disclosed its hidden mind. You see, inconscience also has a hidden mind. It has a mind, you see. As this great, blind, inconscient universe, because there was no seeing idea, there was no mind, therefore it was blind, could never have disclosed its hidden mind, or even in blinkers worked in beast and man. Yeah, you put on, well, you are able to see, but you are narrow vision, all right, but still you are having the mind. The intelligence that devised the cosmic scheme, the seeing idea, the intelligence, it is able to see that thing now of what? Beast and man, this intelligence. So, this mass intervention, what is this intervention? Where from this intervention is coming? From this intelligence. This intelligence is the intervention in the operation of life. At first, he saw a dim, obscure mind power, moving, concealed by matter and dumb life. See, he is so precise, very clearly he is stating everything. He saw, he, Ashwapati. He stands here for Ashwapati, obviously. It is not intelligence, it is Ashwapati who saw. He saw a dim, obscure mind power, obscure. See, because it is elementary mind. Although it is a third creation, still it is an elementary mind. It is from life to life, from life to life mind is a small beginning in the whole process. Moving, concealed by matter, obviously surrounded completely by matter, dominated by matter, this life mind. And dumb life, because in life there is no mind at the moment, therefore it is dumb. It is not able to express herself. Yeah, yes?
You said
He, Ashwapati.
But the small being, it's Ashwapati.
Yeah, that is all. Yeah, he doesn't use capital like that.
Yeah, but
In fact, this appears in number.
Ashwapati in the sense of meaning of avatar now. He never was a small.
No, you see, in Savitri, he is always small. He is always small.
small.
Yeah. He appears for Ashwapati in number of places. In fact, we have already seen in the earlier cantos, he, Ashwapati.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, it is good that he does not make it capital.
This is not my question. Here, the small being for me is really the beginning.
No, well, I will put this way, after all, in the context of the totality of the picture of this wide world expansion and all that thing, he is a small man. In the context of it, in the totality, he is still good. Now, but the beauty is, Ashwapati is seeing that out of matter, life has arrived, mind is arriving and all that thing. Now, in other words, he is tracing back in his present consciousness the entire history of evolution. He is seeing now, I am sitting here, but I am seeing the entire history of evolution. In other words, I am taking a time travel tour. I am traveling in time back and seeing how things must have happened, and therefore I am. And as I told you last time, earlier also, that this is possible because Ashwapati has totally, completely identified himself with the process of evolution. He has established samyama, identity with evolution. Because he is one with evolution, the process of evolution, he knows the entire sequence. He suddenly sees the entire sequence, samyama. So if you want to know really what evolution is, how things have progressed all through, there was nobody to write down and record the history of evolution. But you can trace the entire history by identifying yourself with evolution. As a dynamic force, evolution is the dynamic force. You identify yourself with that force and then you know the entire history of evolution completely. That is what you have got in the record of yoga, you see. Otherwise it's impossible to know, you see, how this happened, you see. At first, he saw a dim, obscure mind power, moving, conceived by matter and dumb life. Yeah, well, that's the beginning of this early mind, third creation. A current, so at first, because it is a current, thin, a small little trickle flowing like that, it streamed lies to vast flow in the expansion, the ambition, in the growth, in the wideness of life. It is going like a small little current, not even a small brook, but a small little current only, you see. Tossing and drifting under a drifting sky. Tossing that current, tossing and drifting under a drifting sky. See what a powerful tossing, rocky. That gives you four, trochee. Tossing and drifting under a drifting sky. Again, see the de-alliterations here. Tossing, trochee. And drift, I am. And I am. I am, I am. So the first opening is a trochee and the rest are I ams. Tossing and drifting under a drifting sky. And the repetition of that drifting is very powerful, very beautiful poetically, you see. You see, he doesn't say tossing and drifting under a shifting sky. Shifting will not do. It has to be drifting again. Tossing and drifting under a shifting sky, under a changing sky. No, none of those things will do. You see, it has to be again drifting only, you see, metrically. Although metrically changing also would do, varying also will do, but the beauty of drifting, repetition of drifting is something different. That's the magic of poetry, you see. Tossing and drifting under a drifting sky, amid surge and glimmering tremulous wash, release in splash of sense and feelings waves, release in splash of sense, as if senses are coming up, you see. Amid surge and glimmering of tremulous wash, the water which comes here into the inland, so to say, that's the wash comes, that's the wash, you see. Amid the surge and glimmering tremulous warmth, release in splash of sense and feeling wave. In the deep mist of an unconscious world, in the deep mist of an unconscious world, its huddled waves and foam of consciousness. It's that early mind. That it stands for early mind. Its huddled waves and foam of consciousness ran, pressing and eddying through a narrow stream, carrying experience in its crowded page. So he is giving the image of the sea line drained completely, see. In the deep mist of an unconscious world, it huddled waves and foam. The sea image of water image is coming. In fact, it is continuation of the same image here. Amid the surge and glimmering of wash, release, splash and sense of feeling waves is the continuation of the same. So it is a kind of a long description of how the waves, this current, this water entering into the scheme of things here. This is a long description of what you would call something like a Homeric simile. Long drawn simile is the character, is the nature of epic poetry in Homer's creation. So this is a Homeric simile of the sea completely. See. Release in splash of sense and feeling waves in the deep mist of an unconscious world. Its huddled waves and foam, waves are crowding together, waves of consciousness ran, pressing, kneading through a narrow strait, carrying experience and its crowded pace. You see, the current is moving and it's getting crowded. Carrying experience, carrying is a dactyl. Carrying experience, in its crowded anapis, that pace I am. That is how line. Crowd carrying, it starts with the dactyl. Expel, the ends, spirit, in its crowd anapis, that pace I am. That is how the line will scan. Carrying experience in its crowded pace. See again, see a little a K, a little the curse sound, carrying experience in crowded pace, you see. It flowed, emerging into upper light. That current is flowing into the upper light. Started seeing the higher light, better light, better light. May not be very good light, yet it has started seeing the better light, upper light, you see. From the deep pool of his subliminal birth, the birth is in the lower nature, vital nature, to reach some high existence still unknown. See? So a complete description of the whole way is there. See? This early mind is trying to reach a high existence which is still not known to it. But the seeing idea is there behind it, and the seeing idea is taking it forward. There was no thinking self. Aim there was none. All was recognized, stress and seeking's way. Before his arrival, there was no thinking self, there was none there to see also. All was unrecognized stress and seeking wave. Only to the unstable surface rose sensation, snaps and edges of desire and passions leave, and brave emotions cried, life instincts. A casual colloquy of flesh with flesh, flesh talking to flesh, casually. A murmur of heart to longing, wordless heart. A glimmering of knowledge with no shape of thorn, and just of subconscious will or hunger's pull. Well, that is what life was until now, you see. Just of subconscious will or hunger's pull. It is the hunger which is driving the life force until now, completely. So you don't care about a thing. I mean, an animal will eat grass, the animal will be eaten by another superior animal, greater the animal. Small fish will eat big fish. Sorry, big fish will eat small fish. It will keep on blending up like that. See, see, and just of subconscious will or hunger's will, all was dim, sparkle, or a foaming top until now. See, foaming top, same image of the current and the sea is there. It whirled round a drifting shadow self. What is this thing? This self which is there is a kind of shadow self which is drifting, changing constantly its form. It is no more always the same, persisting. It whirled around a drifting shadow self in an inconscient flood of force in time. Inconscient flood of force in time. That early mind again, you see. It whirled around it, drifting. See again, that drifting is appearing once more here. We are seeing that drifting, tossing and drifting in a drifting sky. Here again, that drifting is appearing here. It whirled around a drifting shadow self in an inconscient flood of force in time. Then came the pressure of a seeing power. When all this was happening, kind of a preparation, turmoil, creation, ambition, life force. Then came the pressure of a seeing power. The seeing power, this early mind, that intelligence, that seeing idea, this pressure plus seeing power. The seeing idea is pressure. That drew all into a dancing turbid mass, circling around a single luminous point, center of reference, and a conscious field, figure of unitary light within, unitary light, which unites all together. That's unitary light. Then came the pressure of a seeing power, that intelligence, that seeing idea. It is that pressure which is making all things, that drew all into a dancing turbid mass, a gathering coming together, you see, turbid mass, because it is in the life field, you see, circling around a single luminous point, that idea, you see, center of reference and a conscious field, figure of unity light within figure. So it itself is a small little figure of light coming here, unitary. It lit the impulse of the half sentient flood. Half sentient. Some little awakening, some little awareness has come here, therefore flood. See again that image of flood is coming, that current is coming, you see. Even an illusion gave of fixity, as if a sea could serve as a firm soil. That's the illusion. That the sea could be soil, a firm ground for work. That's the illusion. But it gives that illusion also to them. It lit the impulse of the half sentient flood. Half sentient, it has become slightly aware, just started becoming aware because the life mind is appearing here. It lit the impulse of the half sentient flood. Even an illusion gave. Obviously, it looks like that, but it is not really so. But it has done its job. That illusion has created its job. See, otherwise it is impossible to imagine that the sea can be a ground for walking, that you can walk on the sea like that, you see. But it gives that kind of illusion, yes, you can do that sort of a thing, you see. Even an illusion gave a fixity, as if a seed could serve as a firm soil. That strange absorbing power imposed its sight, that early mind, that strange observing power, that seeing idea, that intelligence, that is the observing power, you see. That strange observing power. In fact, he has used the same phrase earlier, observing power. Seeing power. Earlier it was pressure of a seeing power. Now it is the observing power. Strange observing power imposed its sight. It forced on flux a limit and a shape. Flux, what is constantly changing, it is on that, it is giving a kind of firmness. See, life is constantly changing its form because of the presence of death, constantly changing its form. But at the same time, a certain amount of fixity is given by this shape, by this mind. As long as it is there, it is present definitely. It forces on flux, which is constantly limit and shape. It is a great thing it has done. As I said, the mind is a thing which gives you a measure, a form, a certain definiteness, a certain point of reference, you see, individuality, character, you see. It gave a stream a lower, narrow bank. Well, that is how it is moving. Drew lines to snare the spirit's formlessness. The spirit which has no form. In fact, even earlier than that, life had no form. You see, life before entering into matter was always the same, constantly. Maybe there were forms, but then they are of no avail. They were fixed forms. But when life has entered into matter and death appeared, that continuity of life which is there, that is broken up. And it is that continuity, broken continuity, it is that gives you kind of a shape and movement and a possibility of newer and better and higher expressions. Because of that, expressions can come out, you see. It drew lines to snare the spirit's formlessness. The spirit which has no form, which has not taken any shape at all here. The self, Atman, is there continuously, but it has no shape at all, no form. What is the use of it? But then, to give shape to that self, to that Atman, this is the process. Life is doing, mind is doing, a certain definiteness, concreteness to it, you see. Drew lines to snare. So as if it is attracting, catching, seizing Atman into this form, spirit into this position. It fashioned the life mind of bird and beast, that intelligence, the seeing power, that intelligence, that observing power, the seeing power, that intelligence, or that seeing idea, they are the same. It fashioned the life mind of bird and beast. So, animals, they have a mind, but it is enough mind. It is a mind which is based on life. It has no proper mind. Mind proper is not there. Even in the highly evolved animals, even the chimpanzee, which may be very close to man's mind, still it is an animal mind. It is a vital mind. It is a life mind. It is not mind proper yet, you see. That is why the line says, ape-like man. Man was born from an ape-like creature. Ape-like. He doesn't say ape. Man has not come from ape. Man has come from an ape-like creature. Life has evolved a form which is of an ape, but that form is now amenable for the mind to enter and occupy it. That is why ape-like man, you see. A finite movement of the infinite came winging its way through a wide air of time. What a joyous moment, you see. It's a real joyous moment, you see. A finite movement of the infinite, which is not yet broken, but once finite, bits like that. You see, continuity wants. It's like you have got to see, all right, but see is okay, but what I want are not, is not sea. I want drops of water. To get drops of water from the sea, that's a miracle. That's a miracle. You spray out and then you get drops of water. It is the mind which is doing that sort of thing. Spray, pump, and then you get drops of water. A finite movement into the infinite came winging its way through a wide air of time. A march of knowledge moved in nation. So this is the progress of knowledge itself. There was no idea, no aim at all about this thing, but now the knowledge has started moving forward. Where? It has yet at the moment it started moving in nations. Our progress is from more ignorance to less ignorance. Our progress of the mental being of man, it is from more ignorance to less ignorance. It is still in ignorance. It is still in ignorance. Now what is going to happen, what has to happen, what must happen, what we aspire to happen, what is there in the scheme of things is not from more ignorance to less ignorance, not from ignorance to knowledge, it is from knowledge to greater knowledge, knowledge to knowledge to knowledge to knowledge. That is the divine possibility of the new race of the coming. Progress in the field of knowledge. Once you have entered the field of knowledge, it does not mean that you have got every knowledge, but you can bring out new expressions of knowledge, new possibilities of knowledge, new potentialities of knowledge can come into creation. And those are the things which will start appearing when the divine life is present here, you see. Those are the things which will start happening. A march of knowledge moved in decision and guarded in the form a separate soul. Now this march is guarding each separate soul individually against the siege of death, against the attack of vital forces. It is guarding that, and that is how it is moving forward. Its right to be immortal, it reserved. Its right to be immortal, its right to be immortal, and the siege of death, against the siege of death. The death has surrounded the whole life completely. Life is completely surrounded. It is not allowing new things to enter into it. But then this entity, this seeing power, observing power, is working out something against the siege of death itself. Death is preventing higher and better forces to enter into the picture here. But then this is trying to push forward. This is trying to move forward. Its right to be immortal, it reserved. Right to be immortal. Actually, it is immortal. But then it wants to be immortal in this changing flux, in this constantly altering situation of life. Life is changing form constantly. Life is governed by death. It is broken up into parts. It is under the circumstance that this immortal is trying to remain immortal in this changing scene. Immortal scene. Its right to be immortal, it reserved. It will not allow death to come and spoil its immortality. It cannot damage, it cannot cause harm to its immortality at all, you see. Actually, immortal it reserved. This is the immortal within us. There is the deep soul within us which is immortal, and it is seated in the field of mortality. The deep soul within us is working in the field of mortality. But then it remains mortal. It remains immortal. It does not get away. It works in its own way. It is a kind of an alchemic agent. It is a kind of a mechanism by which this immortal can bring out more and more of immortality in the mortal world. The mortal world has a possibility of immortality. It is that which this immortal is bringing out in a more and more consistent way. That is the alchemic agency. That is the mechanism. That is the purpose for this immortal being seated within us. Its right to be immortal, it reserved. Yes, it will not forego, whatever may be the circumstance. Build a wall against the siege of death. Siege of death. The siege of Troy. You see, the famous siege of Troy is there. In the world, you have got every kind of provision in the fort, in the city, but then no new fresh provisions can enter in. When the siege is there, when the Greek laid the siege against Troy, No new provision could enter it. It may last for a few years, whatever time it may be, but then ultimately you get exhausted and you'll be nowhere. The siege of Troy lasted for 10 years, but then they had so many provisions and they could still carry on without that thing, siege of Troy. Siege of Troy. It's right to be immortal, but then ultimately the siege was broken. That wall was broken by the Trojan horse and entered in the sea. That is how the Trojan. It's right to be immortal, it is so, but build a wall against the siege of death and drew a hook to clutch eternity. What for all these things? This intelligence, this all-seeing power, for what? To bring the aspect of eternity into the movement, into the motion of time, to bring those aspects. It is for that purpose is this power working. And drew a hook to clutch eternity. Yeah.
Can we say that death is part of mind of night?
Manome?
Mind of night and death.
No, mind of night had a specific role to prevent the formation which have taken place being swallowed by void. Mind has given a certain kind of a rigidity, a firmness, a strength to the forms which are created, that those forms would not get swallowed by the hungry void. The hungry void will simply swallow them up. To prevent their getting swallowed by the hungry void, mind of night has given a kind of a fixity form. So, the void is incapable of swallowing those forms now. See, as if it wants bits. If it is bits, but when you have a lump of thing, the void cannot swallow the lump, as if like that, you see. To prevent the swallowing of the forms which have taken place by the void, the hungry void is there to take up whatever is required. To prevent that, you have the mind of night, which prevents that kind of a thing happen. It gives a firmness, fixity.
Yeah, but death is different.
That's a different thing. Here, the siege of night is, see, there is a moment there, but then there is a death also constantly changing thing. There is a flux, you see, constantly changing. To prevent that, but that flux is in a way necessary, in a useful to move forward. But at the same time, it is not allowing things to happen also. So but build a wall against the siege of death. The immortal is there, all right, but the immortal is there for what purpose? Not to remain just like that, static, stationary, fixed. The immortal is there in me, but the immortal is not happy at all being there. It wants progress, it wants new expression, it wants new creation to come out constantly. It is that urge of the immortal which is there. Otherwise, having a individual who is immortal in me of no use to me. Of no use to me, you see. It's like saying, yeah, I got a very precious stone, precious jewel, precious diamond, whatever it is. Well, you may be happy, you may feel elated, whatnot, you see, with that precious jewel or necklace or what you want to call it, you see. It is of no use to you. That preciousness is of no use to you, of no consequence. Unless you see in that precious stone some sort of a divine presence. Unless you see, it is not just a stone, it is holding some kind of power of the spirit in it, and that power of the spirit is working in me. If I am able to do that thing, then that immortal has a value. If it is simply sitting like a stone in my ring, as a stone, it is of no use to me. But that is a dynamic, operative, expanding presence which is there in me, immortal. And it works here, you see. So the purpose of a stone in the ring, it is charged. It means that it is pushing you, driving you further, you see. It is not simply. So that is the immortal purpose, reserved. And naturally, it will not allow things to happen. And drew a hook to clutch eternity. What a strong phrase. To clutch eternity. To hold eternity. Hold eternity. Where? In the drifting hour. In the changing time. In the moment. To hold eternity. A thinking entity appeared in space. A thinking entity appeared in space. A thinking entity. I am, appeared. I am in space. I am. A little ordered world broke into view. A thinking entity refers back to the same thing. This life mind. This life mind. This thinking entity refers to the life mind. A thinking entity appeared in space, in formation, in clear vision. A little ordered world broke into view. It is that power of mind which organizes things around it. Organization is what the mind is doing. A little ordered world broke into view, where being had prison room for act and sight, a flow to walk, a clear but scanty rain. It's a little complex image, you see. A little ordered world broke into it. Yeah, well, naturally, some kind of an organization has taken place, some kind of an order has appeared with the thinking mind, with the life mind, where being had prison room for act. Until now, being was locked in matter. It was locked in stone. It had no movement, it was no scope for changing things at all. Locked for act and sight. It could not see things beyond. It was prevented to go beyond that thing. A floor to walk. It gives that thing. A clear but scanty rain. It has at least given some sort of a movement to it. Although it may not be very vast, very big, magnanimous, but at least a range has been opened out. A little ordered world broke into view, where being had prison room. Prison room, being itself is in a jail, so to say. In that jail, it has brought out some sort of an act and a sight, you see. A floor of walk. A clear but scanty rain, an instrument personality was born. There you are. You see the finiteness, the completeness. What is that life mind has done? It has given a sort of an individuality to life force. A distinct character to each individual it has given. So that is the distinct, that is the instrument personality. That instrument means it is going to work something. It is a tool for making further progress, further march into knowledge. Instrument personality was born. This little mind, this early mind, this life mind, and restricted, clamped intelligence, concentrate to restrain a narrow bound is seeking. Well, in narrow bounds it is seeking there. It holding that intelligence in narrow limits only. See. It tied the thought to visible thing. Well, that is a good thing it has done. It has built up a prison wall so that it can at least in prison wall do something, can start seeing things and see. It is a much bigger gain, though at the moment it may appear towards a prison, but it has served its purpose to taking the march forward, you see. It tied the thought to visible things, prohibiting the adventure of the unseen. That unseen does not come and invade it, you see. And so straight through unknown infinities. It wants to go in step. It does not want to get flooded. So it is the prison wall. It is the prison house in which there is a reflex reason. Nature habits glass. Reflex, which reflects. Nature's habit glass. The habit of nature is a glass, is a mirror. And what is that mirror? A reflecting reason. You put an image and the reason will give the reflection of that thing. A reflex reason. Illumined life to know and fix its field. That reflecting reason, that mirror glass is illuminating, means from the light, from the glass is thrown on life and life is illuminated by that light. Illumined life to know and fix its field. What it should be. Means the life mind is giving a certain sense of a direction to life which was not there until now. Life has been creating forms and forms and forms, but for what purpose? Towards what end? It had no idea yet, but now it is giving that idea. Illumined life to know and fix its field, accepting a dangerous, ignorant brevity and inconclusive purpose of his walk, and profit by the hour's precarious balance in the allotted boundaries of his fate, allotted boundaries, precarious chance. So you see, many of these things are happening by chance, by coincidence, in the whole process of this thing. A profit by the hour's precarious chance. This may happen, that may not happen, but it has happened. There is a chance. The allotted boundaries of his fate. In a word, his intelligence is working in a prison. Fate is working of the individual and the cosmic forces. There is the working of cosmic forces. There is the urge of the individual from within. The joint work of these two together, who is strong, it is that which is going to decide the future march of things. But then, and the inconclusive purpose of his work, prison work is there, but then what for until not known. It has given that direction now, and profit by the hour's precarious chance. Profit means whatever you are getting by that chance, but happening by coincidence, it is that you are exploiting and taking things forward. In the allotted boundaries of his way, in the period, allot, I am, at that bound, I am, the rays, period, of his fate and apist. That is how the line is scanned, you see. In the allotted bound, the rays of his fate, you see. In the period, allot, I am, eight bound, I am, the rays, period, of his fate and apist. A little joy and knowledge satisfied, this little being tied into a knot. Yeah, this little mind which has come into existence, it is happy with that, it has done something, you see. A little joy and knowledge satisfied, this little being tied into a knot and hung on a bunch of his environment. A little curve cut off in measureless space, a little span of life in all vast time. It is happy with that little gain. It is happy with that little gain. This little being tied into a knot and hung on a bulge of his environment. Hung on a bulge of his environment. Bulge of his environment. This word bulge is a very beautiful word, a very wonderful word. It's a real inspired word. How do we translate bulge?
Boss. Boss.
Yeah. Bulge, yeah, it's a protrusion, something protrusion. See, bulge is some, well, you have a bulge also. You have this bulge also like that, you see. Many times like that, you see. Bulge is there. Now this bulge is, a kind of a sudden bump, sudden rise of water. When the fish is moving in water to catch its prey, then around it there is a kind of swelling of water. That is the bulge. So, in the environment, as if something is dashing against, something is trying to catch, something is there, and then a little bulge is appearing there. In the environment of all these life forces, this bulge is appearing. This word bulge, historically, the Battle of Bulge, the Battle of the Bulge. You know that, the Battle of the Bulge? No, come on. The Battle of the Bulge. From 16th December 1944 to 26th January 1945, for about 5 weeks, there was this Battle of Bulge in Belgium.
Oh, that's
Battle of Bulge in Belgium. That was the last invasion of Hitler. That was the last invasion of Hitler. In the Battle of Bulge, it was a real bulge, sudden spurt of like that, you see.
It was not Duncan. No,
Adrianis mountain, Adrianis forest, no?
yes.
In that period.
Which was terrible.
Adrian.
Then?
Dire.
Then.
So that was the last invasion, massive, large invasion of Hitler. And then as an hour, and they suffered a lot. I mean, thousands and thousands of soldiers were killed and butchered on both the sides completely. But that was the last battle of the Second World War, December, January 45, 44, 45, you see.
Before Duncan.
Huh?
Before Duncan.
No,
The
after,
Romanian.
5 years later.
After Duncan.
Yeah, after Dunkirk. 5 years later. It was the last battle of the West.
Dunkerque en 41.
Last invasion of Hitler, you see, on the Allied forces at the time. Yeah. And then there was real heavy killing on both the sides. Thousands and thousands of soldiers died on both the sides, and all the aeroplanes, all these things completely destroyed, you see. So that was the real bulge of environment, you see. A devilish force which had come. That was the real bulge of the devilish force which had come up. See, you are attacking, and suddenly something bumps up. So that's the bulge. Bulge of environment, you see. And hung on a bulge of its environment. I don't know whether Shavendra is really referring here in this line to that battle of bulge, this word bulge. Perhaps not.
Too early.
Pardon me?
Too early.
Pardon me?
It's too early, I think.
Yeah, no, perhaps not. Because, see, Battle of Bulge, the last invasion of Hitler, as I said, December 44, January 45, about 5 weeks that thing. And this part of Savitri was written much earlier than that. Was written much earlier than that. So I will not say that this bulge has a reference to that historic Battle of Bulge. But the description is very apt, you see. Description is very apt, you see. The Battle of the Bulge, very famous battle. A little curve cut off is measureless way. So that is the bulge. So you are swallowing something and there is a certain rise of water level in this bulge. A little span of life in all vast time. A thought was there that planned, a will that strove, but for small aims within a narrow scope. Yes, mind has come, it has started thinking, it has started planning, it has started striving for doing things also, but then its aims are small, puny, petty aim. After all, it's a small mind, it's the beginning mind only. But for small aims within a narrow scope, in a given scope only, you see. Whereas this Battle of Bulge was not really a small aim, it was a real big aim, you see. It was a real big aim, you see. Wasting unmeasured toil and transient thing. Yeah, this force, this bulge is putting enormous amount of effort, all the resources of toil on transient things, things are shaping, passing away. So the vital force which was released by Hitler in that sense, he was putting such enormous force there at a time, but it was on transient things, it will disappear. It has gone away also with that, you see. It knew itself a creature of the mud. It, that small mind, that life mind, that after all it is born from matter, from here. Creature of the mud. It asks no larger law. Now obviously, I mean, it is born, it asks. Perhaps it cannot, because its scope, its character is that it cannot really see that thing. No large law, no loftier aim. It is not in its nature also to ask for that. It had no inward look. Because it has no inward look, it will not ask. If it starts seeing something, means this inner mind, this vital mind, the life mind which has taken place, is a limited instrument for a certain purpose at a certain stage of development of evolution. It has a limited thing. The scope is also limited. It naturally it is not asked for larger law that I want to become, I want to do this, I want to do that thing. It will not ask. It is not really in its character also. No loftier air. It had no inward look, no upward gaze. It cannot see upward, not within, you see. Naturally, as an instrument if used for its while, then it has been superseded. You have to make further progress. A backward scholar on logic's rickety bench. Now he is giving you another Homeric simile is here, see. This mind, this life mind, is a backward scholar on a logic's rickety bench. So you imagine a school room and the scholar is sitting on a rickety bench, shaking and all that thing. That is how this mind is sitting here, indoctrinated by the erring sense. So he is already indoctrinated by the erring sense. It took appearance for the face of God. Well, that is how it is indoctrinated. That is how the dogmatized people are made. See. For casual life, the marching with the sun, which it may be a kind of flicker, it may be a spark, but it thinks as if it is the march of the sun. For heaven, a starry strip of doubtful blue, aspects of being faint to be the whole. So this is the kind of a scholar, backward scholar on a rickety bench. This mind, this life mind is of that kind of thing. What a perfect description of a school classroom, you see. A backward scholar on logic rickety bench, indoctrinated by the erring sense. So that is what this religious dogmatism is taught. You are made to believe and children start believing that kind of a thing. For heaven, a starry strip of doubtful blue. So a starry strip of doubtful hue, it takes, oh, this is heaven, this is heaven, this is heaven. Aspects of being faint to be the whole. There was a voice of busy interchange, a marketplace of trivial thoughts and acts, all this little mind, all this early mind, all this life mind. Marketplace of trivial thoughts and acts. So it has become a noisy place now, exchanging of ideas and thoughts and all that thing. Life soon spent, a mind, the body is a slave. Mind, the body slave. That is what it is, you see. Here seeing the brilliant crown of nature's work. Yeah, this mind is, well, at that point of time in the process of evolution, it indeed was a brilliant crown of nature's works. At that point of time, it was indeed was another. But then there was some higher intelligence which knew that this is not the end, it has to go forward also, you see. Crown of nature's work, and tiny egos took the world as mean to possess the whole thing. A state, a wild dwarf, lust and brief desire. In a death-close passage, saw life start and end. Death close, the passage is closed by death. It starts in that life where it began, where it ends. As though a blind alley were creation's sign. As if for this the soul had coveted birth. As if it was all for this purpose that the soul has taken is here, you see. In the wonderland of a self-creating world, in the opportunities of cosmic space, this is what it sees, the whole scope of its activities, you see. Very long, beautiful description. There was a voice of busy interchange, a marketplace of trivial thoughts and acts. So this is what the trivial thoughts and acts will do. Think of that thing. Life soon spent, mind the body slave, here seemed the brilliant crown of nature's world, and tiny egos took the world as main. To sate a wild dwarf lust and brief desire, a wild dwarf lust and brief desires. In a death-closed passage, the passage is closed by death, but in that thing they are trying to do something, as though a blind alley were creation's sign, as if for this the soul had coveted birth in the wonderland of all-seeing world and the opportunities of cosmic space. This creature, passionate only to survive, this life mind, passionate only to survive, somehow it must survive, live, because of the death present there. Death closed passage, because of death it must survive. This creature, passionate only to survive, fettered to puny thorn, with no wide range, and to the body's nails and pangs and joy. This fire, growing by its fuels, increased by what it sees and made its own. It gathered and grew and gave itself to none. It gathered and grew and gave itself to none. It gathered, I am, and grew and appeared and gave and appeared itself and appeared. Sorry, I am. Yeah, you see. The first is I am, the second is an apex, others are I am. It gathered and grew and gave itself to none. See again the G alliteration was line. Fettered to puny thoughts with no wide range. Well, this life mind is tied to life instincts, life principles and all that thing. It has only small little thought. It cannot really see. Now this is possible for us to see because we are seeing something beyond this life mind. And to the body's needs and pangs and joys, that is all it wants. What the body needs, it is only surviving. It is only serving that cause. This fire growing by its fuel. This is a very peculiar line. This fire growing by its fuel. Now here, fire is disyllabic. Fire, it's not fire. The fire, this fire is growing by its full is death. Then only it becomes iambic. It becomes pentametric, you see. Otherwise it becomes 9 syllables only. Here fire is disyllabic. Fire, desire, desire, 3 syllables. Desire. Normally we say desire, 2. But it is sometimes desire. Inspire, 3 syllables. We take only 2, inspire, but it is 3 syllables also. So you have to see the language and the context also. Here fire is definitely disyllabic. Otherwise they have only 9 syllables in this whole line. You see. This fire growing by its fuel. So you put fuel in the fire. Put fuel in the fire. Faggots are fed to the fire. And the faggots are consumed. The fuel is consumed. No more is still there. And then at that time, there is a sudden burst of a flame. When the last food is killed, there is sudden, this fire growing by its fuel death. So the fuel has disappeared now completely. The fire has consumed all the fuel completely. But in that process, it has given rise to a big blaze. See what happens on on your bonfire. It keeps on feeding and suddenly it bursts out openly. You see. This fire, yeah.
It's also life devouring life.
It is devouring, yeah.
So,
This fire is devouring fuel.
Yeah. It is
You
fire
are
of
feeding
life.
fuel.
It's fire of life, no?
Mind of light.
Fire of life.
Fire.
This fire is
Fire.
fire of life.
Fire is growing because see, fire is because this fuel. Now, when the fuel is getting exhausted, then suddenly there is a kind of a burst of flame.
Yeah. Sri Aurobindo mentioned self-devouring life.
Self-devouring
Life. In the life divine.
life.
Self-devouring life.
Life.
Yes.
Here it is.
This is.
Here it is.
Okay.
Oh, that's wonderful. I did not know that. Self-devouring life. This is self-devouring life.
Yes, exact.
This is self-devouring
Which is
life.
what I wanted.
Oh, I did not know that. It is a good thing. Self-devouring life. The faggot feeding the fuel. Faggot fuel. You see. This fire growing which fuels death. It happens very often. Suddenly, you sprinkle, you are cooking something, and you spray some spirit, cooking spirit, light a fire to make the whole thing warm. It blazes and goes away, it disappears. The spirit is gone completely, you see, in that process. Huge big flame will come up, you see. When you are cooking, with the help of the spirit, sprinkled on that. Is it true or not? Yeah. Yeah. So you have got a big pan and you are cooking something, but you want to cover from the top also or something. You put some spirit and then light the fire, and then it goes like that. See. Fire growing by its fuels at death, you see. Increased by what it seized and made its own. Same thing, life devouring, you see here, fire. It gathered and grew and gave itself to none. Only it hoped for greatness in its den, its own greatness, and pleasure and victory in small fields of power, and conquest of life room for self and kin. For my friends, my family, well, it was something that you see. An animal limited by feeding space. Feeding space. So the animal is in a certain field and it is limited by that. It knew not the immortal in its house. This being within you is not aware that there is the immortal sitting within you. Amartyam Marteshu Advaita. There is the immortal in the mortal, and we are not aware of that immortal in us sitting here. See, it knew not the. So, although we have got a very highly developed mind, still we are not really aware that there is the immortal sitting within us. What's the use of that mind then? Now, here, this is at a very, very early stage of mind, you see. But that immortal, capital M, the divine fire is there. Divine Agni is present even at that point there, you see. Divine Agni is there. It knew not the immortal. In its house, it had no greater, deeper cause to live. Well, it is living on a moment, for a given moment of time, and is happy. In limits only, it was powerful. Well, acute to capture truth for outward use. Acute, very keen, very eager, very anxious to capture truth for outward use. Yes, it is very keen to capture truth. For what purpose? For outward use. You want knowledge. For what purpose? To make your life comfortable. Consumerism grow. You want this luxury, you are that comfort, that thing, that. That is what we are doing now, see. Our thirst for knowledge, of technology, of growth, is to increase our human culture, human bodily, acute for capture, for outward use. Its knowledge for the body's instrument, absorbed in the little walls of his prison house. Well, it is locked in the prison house. This is what we have seen earlier also. In the prison house, it is locked there, see, of matter, of this thing. It turned around the same unchanging point, in the same circle of interest and desire, but thought itself the master of its jail. This little mind is present, this early mind, this third creation, this life mind has done something, but it is in its own jail, jail of matter. It is locked in the rules of matter completely. See. In the same circle of interest and desire, but thought itself the master of its jail. See. Although for action, not for wisdom made, well, that is the reality. It is meant for a certain action. Because what is that action? Life was creating forms and forms and forms without any aim, without any objective. With the appearance of this life mind, some kind of an aim started appearing in front of life. Some kind of an aim that it should be done like this. So that is the objective of this life mind, which was not there in life. Life was merely creating forms and forms and forms. For what purpose? It did not know. With the appearance of this little mind, it started seeing some objective, some aim, some purpose. Although for action, what is that action? To take things forward, to take evolution forward, that's the action. Not for wisdom made. It is not for wisdom made at all. You see? It is made for giving a certain sense of direction to the vivacious life, to the random, the uncontrollable life, the ambitious life, you see. Although for action, not for wisdom made. Thought was its apex or its gutter's rim. It saw an image of the external world and saw its surface self, but knew no more. That's the pity. That's the state of affairs. It does not know what for it is there. Now this thought was its apex or its gutter's rim. This pure modern poetry, the Iliad poetry, you see, what the poets of the time were using. bones, flesh. These were the kind of images they were using. The hollow man, gutters rim, very repulsive but very powerful here. Thought was its apex or its gutters rim. It saw an image of the external world and saw its surface itself, but knew no more. It has no idea of what could be more than that, no more. Out of a slow, confused, embroiled self-search, mind grew to a clarity cut out, precise, a gleam enclosed in a stone ignorance, a gleam enclosed in a stone ignorance. Gleam, this early mind, this intelligence which is aiming at something, in stone ignorance, in matter, in the rigidity of form, in the matter. A gleam enclosed in a stone ignorance, and this bound thinking, narrow leadership, tied to the soil, inspired by common things, attached to a confined familiar world, amid the multitude of her motive to plot, her changing actor, and her million man, life was a play, monotonously the same. Now, attached to a confined familiar world, amid the multitude of her motive plot, her changing actors, that stands for life. In the last line, her life was a play, monotonously the same. So, what is life doing until now? Life is playing, is staging a drama on the scene, but the same actors, the actors may change, the scene may change, motive may change, but ultimately the same thing. Nothing new is happening there until now. Tied to soil, inspired by common things, that is what life was doing until now. Attached to a confined, familiar world, the theme is the same, repeated constantly. Attached to a confined, familiar world. Amid the multitude of her motive plot, she may have many schemes, many ideas, many expressions, many scenes to play on the stage, but they are not of avail. Her changing actors will come and go. Number of actors will be there. Her million man, they will come and put on mask. Life was played monotonously. It was the same repetition. Life mind is there, but then it is repetition. Means while the life mind has achieved something, but it has a very limited scope. It is not able to break through this routine. There was no vast perspective of the spirit. It was lacking the perspective of the spirit. What the spirit wants, that has no idea of this mind has no idea of what the spirit desires. Perspective of the spirits are absent in this life mind. It is doing certain things, it is playing on the stage, playing the drama and all that kind of a thing, but it is the same thing again, routine, monotonous, same thing happening. Well, this is what ordinary life is here also. Ordinary life, even at the mental stage, if you go really to the lower life, it is the same repetition, whether it is in this village or in that village or in this country or that country, it is the same pattern. There is really no real change, difference at all. But it comes very rarely, you see. There were no vast perspective, there are no perspective of the spirit. What the spirit is there for? Perspective of the spirit. No swift invasion of the unknown delight. Yeah, the delight should come and invade you, swift change. That thing is not there at all, you see. It is going on routinely, monotonously, same way. This petty state resembles our human days. Well, that is very true. He is giving an example now. This petty state resembles our human day, but fixed to eternity, a changeless type. See, it is a kind of a type. This life mind is playing a life of a given type. Means it typal life. It is bound to its own type. The typal life. It is not progressive. It is not evolving. It is not going further. It is not marching on. You see. Therefore, it is typal. You see. This petty state resembles our human day, but fixed to eternity, a changeless type, a moment's moment doomed to last through time. What a line this one. A moment's moment doomed to last through time. Count the M's, the number of M's there are in this line. moment two, doomed one, time one. 6 M's in one line, you see. 6 M. Wonderful alliteration of M, very rare, you see. A moment doomed to last through time. Now, if the poet creating such a line of alliteration with an intention, let me have so many M's in a line. Is it that kind of a thing? Let me have so many M's. Is it that sort of a thing? Well, an ordinary poet might do that sort of a thing. He might manipulate and then bring all those things here. But this is a sort of a spontaneous inspiration which is bringing all those things automatically there. Shivandu is not thinking, now let me put so many M's here in this line. They come, they appear. A moment doomed to last through time. A moment, I am, doomed, I am, to last, I am. All are Ams. All are Ams. Iambic lines. A moment, doomed to last through time. And of course, M alliteration is very strong here, but there is also the subdued alliteration of T. Moment, to last time. See the number of T's also there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 T's are there. See. 5 T's are there in one line. Existence, bridge-like, spanned in conscient gulfs. A half-element building in a mist, which from a void of form arose to sight and jutted out into a void of soul. So this is a building, you see, so the life mind has done something. It has constructed a structure there and it is looking from above. Inconscient gulfs is crossing there. Half-element building in a mist, hazy, all that thing, which form from a void of form. There were no forms at all. Now the forms have started appearing here. To sight, arose to sight, and jutted out into void of soul. There was nothing. So the appearance of this thing is something which is also a great event. It may be a very small event, but that smallness does not make its importance less. Does not make the importance less, you see. Which from a void of form arose to sight and jutted out into the void of soul. A little light in a great darkness born. A great darkness, a little light in a great darkness born. Life knew not where it went, nor whence it came. Around all floated still the nascent haze. So although the life mind has come into picture, but the real assessment of this life mind, his play, his role is a little light in a great darkness. It is a little light in a great darkness. And life knew not where it went, nor whence it came. Where from it has come, life has no idea of that thing. Around it floated still only the nascent haze is there around it.